Welcome, one and all, back to I Am Nature, the show where we look for solutions to every major issue on this planet. And believe it or not, folks, there is a solution to every problem. And if you listen to this show and if you get into my archives on YouTube, look up I Am Nature, look at my tricolored sun, green, yellow, red. That represents love of the Mother Earth, Father Light, and each other. It's a beautiful symbol, the foundation of all things good here for our species. You will hear and find all of the solutions to every problem on this planet. I guarantee you, and if you don't, send me a note at bporter5611, Skype handle bporter5611, or an email bporter56@me.com. I guarantee you, folks, I will find you the solution. And this week, again, we have two of the great legal solution finders, okay? The great sovereign experts. I debuted them last week, and upon demand, I have brought them back because, wow, they are just unbelievably talented. They have the answers to being free of all the encumbrances of government. It's called the Sovereignty Movement, and they have their own unique flavor of it too, which I really like. So welcome back, Neko and Zeeka.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Brian.
Well, I mean, it's always fun to talk to you guys. You're in the I Am Nature family. You really do. You've done your research. I can't believe you both didn't graduate out of some, esteemed law school and then saw the light, because you really do have a great underpinning and understanding of the law.
We were saying today, hey, we'd probably make a killing if we were real, actual attorneys.
Yeah. Well, I started the day off early. I had a beautiful call with Akasha Joubert, head of the Global Eco Village Network, with Jim Gale. We talked a lot about the permacube. Right away, they're interested. He's going to have a follow-up conversation with some of her colleagues.
Beautiful.
Of course, she lives at Finhorn, 120 people, working hard to feed the planet, to make it more sustainable. All good things. And I also got into a few other topics, like the green currency, like the renaturalizing all processes, which is really what we need to do, folks. We have to take everything on this planet that's toxic. If we can't replace it with something natural, we just have to stop doing it. It's a real simple recipe for fixing the planet. Everything here has a natural foundation, and that includes politics, that includes economics, that includes law. Is that right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And nature is the way to go, because we are nature.
Yep.
Everything natural will create harmony here again, and we will live in a constant state of bliss, joy, abundance, and love. And who can say anything against that?
Some people could.
What sane person? What sane person could say anything?
Yeah, what sane person? People without empathy
Probably
could.
not anybody who's sane. Well, there's a whole group of them that don't, are kind of insane, that are kind of adamant that shouldn't be that way, that we shouldn't be going with what's natural and right. We were just talking about that. You just mentioned economics, and we were just talking about that it's really, economics should be coming from the earth, because everything is from the earth. And instead they've got it where they're having economics is coming from the people. So the full faith and credit of everything is from your signature, coming from the people, our labor. And they've created a whole system, money-backed system on our labor. And it should be completely opposite, coming from earth and what's natural. It's just kind of crazy. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, I know. It's completely artificial. Actually, there's a guy out there, Alfred Weber, who says basically the earth was taken over by an alien intelligence. And it kind of runs sort of on an artificial system that is not at all humane or natural. And there's a certain logic to it. I'm not sure we're run by a machine at the higher levels, but it certainly feels that way, because it seems like your number is more important than who you really are as a person.
Yeah.
Big time.
Which I guess kind of creates a machine.
Yeah, it creates a machine out of control.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
If that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, so let's start again because I'm not assuming everyone who's listening heard the show last week. Let's start with some basic stuff like what is sovereignty? What's give me 5 minutes on sovereignty. Either one.
Okay. Well, for instance, if you go look up sovereignty, you might find the decree of the sovereign makes law. And when you have an idea, and like let's say you're interested in sovereignty, or you are sovereign-minded, which I want to say 80% of sovereignty is in your heart and your mind and your actions and being honest. And when you have an idea, you put it out in your words, and then you can write it down, and you create what you call a writ. And that is decreeing law at that point. The decree of the sovereign creates law. So that's one thing.
A decree is to make law. So if I decree something, I say it, I write it, it means I make it into law. So, it's really funny because the countries, they'll say, oh, I'm sovereign. And when they tell the people that they're not sovereign, but really it's opposite because the people made the governments. I mean, I could just be a child and see that. If I'm a people and I make the government, then I'm more sovereign than you, and you're quasi-sovereign. But they say, no, you're not sovereign. So they got it all completely messed up. And it's kind of weird when they do that in the United States, which is a corporation, not America. And in America, they have all these different court cases. So there's case law upon case law that says that the people are sovereign. So here's one right here. So I have it in front of me right now. And this is Chisholm versus Georgia. And this is actually a very beautiful court case because, first of all, it's never been overturned. It's very old. And in there, it describes that people came from God, and then God comes, and it gives the whole entire hierarchy of what's actually sovereign. We come from a creator, we're man, we create the government, and who are they? So here's a quote from it. It says, "At the revolution, the sovereignty devolved on the people, and they are truly the sovereigns of the country, but they are sovereigns without subjects, with none to govern but themselves. The citizens of America are equal as fellow citizens and as joint tenants in the sovereignty." Now, keep in mind, they didn't say United States, okay? they said America. And then, it's very important to understand that the people are actually sovereign. And I'm from California. I'm very proud to be from California. Dustin is from California too, and so is Neko here, and a lot of people I know are from California. The governor code is 11120, and this one's so great. It says, "It is public policy of this state that public agencies exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business, and the proceedings of public agencies be conducted openly so the public may remain informed." And then it says, "The people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they can retain control of the instruments that they've created." So we got to all understand, we as the people are actually sovereign. We create the law. We create the government.
So the first case you cited, what year was that from?
I can't even remember. It's 18 something.
Okay, so it's pretty old.
And it's never been overturned.
200 years old at least.
Maybe a little less than that, but something to that effect. Yeah, it's very old. Yeah, at the turn of the.
See, the tricky part of a community of sovereigns is something that I feel I have got it figured out. Because I think I've got pretty much everything nailed. Natural government is possible to be really accountable if it gets too big. You cannot have a system of, say, 1 million people with many, many laws, decrees, rules, regulations. Unless everybody understands everything written, it's not really sovereign. And what we've done is we've created all sorts of very complex systems that almost nobody understands except for the lawyers. And therefore, we've lost, really, just through the complexity of the system, we've lost our power, right?
Well,
So we need to keep things small, and this is the natural size that was governed and created by our indigenous peoples. Because what they did is that when things got big, usually I say the size usually varied of each clan about 100 to 500 people. Once it hit to 500 was about the max. They would create another clan.
oh yeah.
Okay, with the same culture, but within each clan it had its own decision-making bodies. Now they varied. They were not the same. Thing about the creator is he loved difference. Everyone is different. Everybody looks different. Everything that's here, it looks different. There's many species of all the different life forms. So we all are meant to be different, and different means we need to have lots of different places to live. All cities, as you call them, legally cities. Does any of this make sense to a sovereign? What I'm saying?
Oh yeah. The only thing is, though, it makes perfect sense because of the little groups, and then having a representative of the group, and then individuals within the group, and this and that. So what everybody's got confused is that there's to the republic for which it stands. So there's a democracy and a republic, but it's very important to understand that no one actually loses their rights, and the system never went anywhere. People keep thinking we've lost America or we've lost some system. The republic is still here. Everybody
stands.
left it and went over to the corporation and is sitting in the democracy and voting and talking about Hillary and all these ridiculous actors in show business, I guess.
Yeah.
And they don't even understand that if they would just so a republic is this: I can use my sovereignty directly or through my representatives. I can exercise my sovereignty directly or through representatives. That's a republic. So everybody has a right. A democracy, 51% of the people can take away the rights of 49%. And that's where we're losing it. Everybody wants to have a democracy. We need to stop that crap. And stop voting in a system that doesn't even care about you. That it was pre-planned probably 1,000 years in advance. It's ridiculous. That's what we think.
It's all rigged.
Well, the ideal system for me is, like I say, a whole bunch of eco-villages, people living in harmony, first of all, with the planet, which is number one. We are all accountable to the mother. Okay, that's number one rule. So in a sense, absolute freedom doesn't exist. We cannot break the rules of nature, and that is don't poison the planet. Don't create energy systems that kill life.
Absolutely.
Okay? So number one is our first rule is here, don't kill the mother. Okay. After that, we can go nuts. We can create anything we want. We can create any legal system we want. Okay, but in order for it to be understood and for the human being to feel like they're a part of a society, we got to keep them small, or that there's at some point it gets too complex to be understood by all. You see, this is the key. And then out of these little small groupings, I call them communities of like-minded people, or you want to call them cities, because I guess that's a better legal term. We'll call them little cities. You can create associations of voluntary membership. So if there's a whole bunch of people who are really into ballet and art and dance, well, they could have a huge overriding kind of like voluntary association where they share information. This is the ideal structure for humans to be living under.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Big time.
here's you want to have a society. So a city, you want to have it because the governments around the world will recognize you that you have rights. So you don't call it a village, you don't call it a community, because that's not recognized by other governments.
Sure, I'll call it a city.
So just call it a city. But what is it really? Let's just say it's 500 people, however many that actually join.
And they're families. They're families.
Yes.
The
Families.
family is the
like-minded.
rock bottom structure of everything, because we're not pack animals.
Yeah, we're social
Yes.
beings.
And we want to be
for
around
sure.
people like us. I don't want to be around people who aren't part of my tribe. So societies, you get a bunch of tribe members together and you create a society, and a society means that you are joined with like-minded people for the same cause with the same rules. And you've decided on that.
Yeah, and they can be different. I mean,
And every society can be its own society.
Yeah, I mean, some people could have a little democracy. Some people could have a consensus. Some people could say, well, we want the oldest people to rule, the senior people. We want them to make the rules. Other people could say, hey, we're going to watch what the trees do, and whatever they do, whenever the shadow changes or whatever the sun moves. I mean, there's a million ways of doing stuff. But the key is once you have your little sovereign communities, the other rule is don't bother other sovereign communities. Keep your rules within your community and respect the rules of others when you're in their community. This
Yes.
is a very simple rule of cooperation and reciprocality.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Rule number one is don't harm the mother, because where are you going to live if you got a bunch of radiation and the whole world stinks? But rule number two is don't harm your other fellow people, including other societies. I mean, clearly.
Now that could be tricky. I mean, what's harm and all that stuff, but I think we can work that out.
Harm is easy.
So what's harm to one is may not be harm to another. So it's
Don't be a fraudulent contract. Don't actually harm somebody physically or through a fraudulent contract or cause loss.
Yeah.
That's easy.
My rights end where your rights begin.
That's
now
not.
let's look at something very concrete, like say a gun law, right?
Okay.
I can see like a million ways of dealing with a gun law. Some communities might say, okay, everybody has to have a gun and needs to be trained on how to use it. Another community could say, okay, we're going to put all the guns in a big cabinet in the main city hall. And anybody who needs a gun will go get one. We'll have a procedure for getting it out. Another community would say, oh, we don't want any guns because we don't need guns. Another community could say, well, we're going to have police. I mean, there's a million ways of dealing with the issue of a gun and having a gun in the community. And I don't think there's any right way to do it. But what you need is like-minded people who can come to agreement on a way of dealing with the fact that guns exist, and what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with them, right?
Yeah.
So there's the thing is about when you try to jam everybody into this one entity and call it quote Canada, United States, it's a corporation, and you try to get everyone to agree on something, it's just a non-stop battle and fight because there's too many options.
Big time.
There's no.
And so what we're doing is we're cramming, and then we put in the cultures and the religions, and it's just a melee of chaos.
Gets all out of hand.
Yeah.
It gets too big for its britches.
And people are super passionate about their guns. So they're super passionate about take them away. They're super passionate about no, I will not take you. Let's give you my gun. They're super passionate about their guns. That's a tricky subject.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, certain states should develop different regs, and then people should just move if they're so passionate about their guns. I mean, I'm sick and tired of hearing people fighting about everything.
Yeah, I feel the same
saying
way.
that, oh no, I have the answer. No, the answer is find the community of people who agree with you and live with them. That's the answer.
Exactly. Move around if you have to. Find your spot.
Yeah, I mean, we have to resettle the chaos. Once we resettle the chaos, it could lead to breakup in family and stuff. I feel bad about that, but I mean, we have to have peace here.
Yeah, give peace a chance.
Yeah, I mean,
talked about that earlier.
To the point now where there's going to be a war in every city, in every bar. I mean, honest to God, the things I'm reading about. I'm watching something today, and this E-Man is talking to the whole group of Muslims and saying, gay people should be killed. It's in the Quran, So wow, I mean, we're looking for a lot of violence here if we are going to allow a culture that thinks that gay people, and there's 77 countries on earth where they jail gays. There's 11 countries where they execute them. The ones where they execute them are all Muslim. We're a gay rights society. So there's a complete conflict between one rule and another. And believe me, these Muslims are very, very adamant about it, at least a lot of them. So we're creating a war right inside. But God, and now we got transsexuals. That's even worse in their eyes. So we're just creating, just an unbelievably bad conflicted situation.
Yeah, you got a point. The hot topics, they should be in their own societies with their hot topics.
No, but I mean, the Muslims shouldn't be here. The ones that believe that gays should be killed, how on earth did they ever get allowed into our society? Unless they wanted violence. You see, this is my point, and this gets back to my original point. If you want to have a value system, go where the value system works. Don't impose it on other people. And if you're in a system where it's different, you have to live within that system. But the only solution to this Muslim issue, I think, is to actually, the ones that are adamant against the values of our society, the ones that have broad values, although we have to break those down too, we have to say, well, please, go somewhere else. because we don't want everyone being shot up in bars. You know,
Yeah.
it's just not the way to deal with difference.
If somebody's got a plan to harm somebody else and murder them for their religion or for something else, I would call it a valueless system myself. That would be how I would look at that.
Definitely a valueless
You
system.
probably don't have any morals or values. Your morals are really twisted. You know, you should hurt anybody else.
If someone wants to have 10 wives and then live in that kind of system, that's fine. I mean, I have no issues with it. But don't start coming to me and say, "Oh no, you should have 10 wives too," or like I say, the problem is that we haven't. There isn't any political or legal system that really understands that human beings are not the same. We're actually creative and we're different, and we like to try different things, and we have different histories and different cultures. And to put them all together is a tremendously bad mistake.
But a common law republic really does respect the rights of all the different people, and no one's allowed to go out and murder other people in a common law republic. So it actually could be done if they would just enforce the damn common law and stop pretending that they're in a democracy with all these legal codes and all this ridiculous stuff. If they would just do what's actually real and go by the law of the land, that actually could be a great
But you see, they have their own law, right? They have Sharia law. Again, they have some very conflicted, and I'm not saying that our system is better than theirs. I'm not saying that at all. I respect all people's rights to be and live within a system that they choose. But when you put conflicted systems side by side, it's like, say we had little sovereign cities. In one city there was a bunch of meat eaters, and right beside them were a bunch of vegans. I don't think that would be a good idea.
As long as they both respected each other,
it probably would. Yeah, it would work.
You know, so they have to hear the cows being slaughtered. I mean, come on, folks.
Oh yeah, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Sense going on.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. That's exactly what our leaders are doing. They are creating they are creating like a powder keg ready to blow.
So what do we do about it? Because, you know, there's obviously some conflict and different ideologies. I mean, it's all about not trying to trample your ideology on my rights end where yours begin, and vice versa. Don't put your things on me.
Yeah, that's real law.
Don't kill me.
The thing is, guys, is that first of all, I think because of this quagmire that has been, I think, intentionally created. I don't think it was an accident. I think it's intentional. In order to, I think the safest place to live now is out of cities. You guys live out in the country, right?
Oh yeah, we live in the middle of the woods on top of a mountain.
Yeah, that's what this eco-village movement generally is. People living out of cities, in rural communities, and I think that's the main reason, because the chance of conflict with the other value systems are limited.
Oh yeah, and the less
first step.
When you get into the big cities, that's where it gets like we were saying before. They get too big for their britches, and there's so many ideologies and so many conflicts of interests at that point, and it turns into the concrete jungle, and it's very difficult to do. And if you have like a smaller sovereign-minded city where everyone is working together in little groups spread out, I think that it would be much more manageable.
Well, we were saying this last time, that it's totally natural for people to be in tribes and to join together with small groups of like-minded people, that the tribal thing's been going on since time began. It doesn't make sense. Then who are you? You're a different tribe. Who are you guys? Hey, there's a different tribe.
No, there's a tribe that works for everyone. That's why when we came here, there were 1,200 distinct nations, and many of them were clans. They all had clans because there was 100 million people living here on the land, and nobody even hardly knew they were here. They blended in so well. There was no ecological destruction. The mother was number one, uno, right? Their system. So it was a much more highly advanced system. We think we have something that's advanced. Actually, what we have is probably the worst system that's ever been on this planet, since the last planetary extinction.
Yeah.
So no, people, we don't have an advanced system. We have a system of chaos and destruction.
And slavery. they also had indirect trade, so there was no money. They didn't worry about how much land there was. They just said, oh, I'm just going to post up over here. Oh, it needs more land. Oh, I'm going to have this much land. They didn't worry about that stuff, and they just had food. We got it all wrong. I mean, so wrong.
Yeah, no. I mean, their land system was based upon who was there first, basically. And well, we're here. Well, if you want to travel through our land, no problem. Well, they had lots of nomadic tribes that moved around, like the Plains Indians did that. I forget the name of the different tribes, but no. I mean, they really did have. Now they had a few conflicts and they had some issues. Not to say that because again, they were smaller groups. So if one or two of 1,200 had a civil war, or I heard it even got so bad that some of them turned into cannibals for some reason. They probably starved to death or something. Had an issue with food, so they became cannibalistic. But when you have a lot of options, most of them are going to be good. You're going to have a few bad ones. But right now we've got only one option, and it's rotten to the core, and that's a big problem. That's a big problem.
It is. It is. Yeah, we need to start over there, huh? Great on.
So we really, what you guys are doing, and this is what I recommend, especially people who are going to have a family and want a real healthy milieu for their children to grow up in, is start an eco-village.
Awesome.
That's one of the things I'm going to do and teach through my new TV network for activists, is how to start an eco-village from scratch.
Yep.
How to create a community that you're going to want to live in, and how to attract the same like-minded people to live with you. Raise your family, have real friends, have an extended family of families. This is the nature of the pack animal.
Yep.
That's excellent.
Yep, and have everything decentralized so that you have your own power, your own water, your own food. Everything is very important.
Oh man, it would make such a harmonious world. And I tell you, we're going to get Kashi on again, but the story she told me about what it was like to live in an eco-village versus your regular, municipality city, and every child is your child. Everyone, she said it's so relaxed. You never have to worry about your child ever being hurt or abused. You trust everyone. Everybody's a teacher to children. So because you have, say, 50 adults and they all have different skill sets, every child learns a little bit from every adult, so you get the most well-rounded children. And there's no school system, it's just living.
Yeah, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And then we've got it all wrong. We send them off to school to go get indoctrinated. It takes a village to raise a child.
The natural order of a pack animal is that you leave the pack when you're ready to reproduce and become, a parent. So we shouldn't be letting our kids go to school until they're like university age. That's when they should be on. Really?
Yeah.
The family is the core, and within the family, you learn to create attachments that are healthy. This world is full of people who don't know how to attach to anything.
Well, that was pre-planned,
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. I'm not sure if that was as much planned as it was just a result of many, many years of
no, that's pre-planned.
Lost knowledge. We've forgotten the basics.
You could never convince me that's not pre-planned. That's pre-planned. We have to get, in order to control a society, we need to separate the families. That's pre-planned. We'll give them.
Well, that probably is part of the plan. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's written.
It's pre-planned a long time in advance, for sure. Because they think it's their society, or I wouldn't even say a they. There is a they, but
the proverbial they.
The proverbial they definitely thinks it's their society, and in order to have this control over the society, they know that if you have strong family units, they will not get their way. So that was very much planned in advance, and they're getting so close to having their way. I'm with you. People need to take back their children and raise them right.
Propaganda these days are very, 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 very like mind warping and easy to take in now because of technology. The way that it's spreaded through television and radio and video games and movies and just all of these things combined. It's this oligarchy of propaganda just going into your mind, and people are subliminally taking this in, thinking that it's okay in societies, and and the children looking up to Hollywood, the way that Hollywood is, and the narcissism involved in all of that. I can see it's very difficult to get away from that in society these days, and it warps your mind. It breaks up families. Kids these days are more into Xbox than the language is even lost. The slang language of the English language is almost obliterated. It's not there like it was before, and it's changing, and that's, I can see how it's difficult, and but that's how they separate families, by giving in to all of that propaganda, and I understand now. When I always heard like old stories when Grandma would say, "And you and your devil music" and stuff like that, and really it's horrible, the things that take over children's minds, and they're so easily manipulated.
Do you realize there's a show now on mainstream TV? It's titled Lucifer.
What?
Whoa, no, I had no clue.
Mainstream TV. The title of the show is Lucifer.
Wow.
He's a hero.
Now it's just put in your face, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's ABC.
Oh my goodness.
It's on ABC.
What is it like? Do you know what it's about, or like what is it entail?
Yeah, it's this guy. He kind of like sort of wanders around the city, and he just runs into guys that are kind of like evil. Now they kind of portray him as sort of like almost like kind of like a Batman, the Batman kind of like the tough guy who's almost evil but not quite, and he usually wins out in the battle. But he kind of like portrays Lucifer as the good guy, and this is like the Albert Pike approach to Luciferianism and Satanism. We have to see the devil's actually good. That he'll protect us from bad things, and that because he's the most powerful demon. So let's stick with the most powerful demon and not the weaker ones. You see, this is one of the mind games that are being played on people now. It's evidently it's portrayed as just a drama. It's not real, but I think a lot of people, it's we have all sorts of indications of Satanism becoming normalized. Up here in Canada, the Supreme Court just ruled that all sorts of forms of bestiality are not illegal anymore.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
What? So who passed that law that had some kind of fetish?
It's considered bestiality. All sorts of other weird things you do with your animals, no problem. But if there's penetration, that's bestiality. So I'm telling you, I don't want to get into all the horrible other options.
Holy jeez.
Oh no.
This is, and do you this is a fact that most Americans don't know. But we had this really weird guy. I won't say his name because I know this is what we're doing this with the media. We're highlighting and promoting Luciferianism and Satanism by highlighting the horrible acts of people and making a big deal of it, right? So this guy, he does the most outrageous thing. He's living with some university. They're both in university. He just goes into this satanic kind of trip, and he cuts his roommate up into little pieces. And then he takes these pieces of this person, and he mails them all over the country. He mails some to the police department, some to politicians. And he wants to get caught. He's not trying to hide this.
Is this a real guy? This is a guy doing this right now?
Sorry?
You're saying this is a real dude doing this right now?
This is for real. This is not a movie. This is something that happened for real. Now, let me finish the story. So they catch the guy. They convict him. I think he's in jail now. I hope he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just sort of in a minimal security place like a mental health institute. But what they did is they made him Newsmaker of the Year. I think it was 2012.
So they glorified him.
Oh, here, become a celebrity for your crazy stuff.
Yeah. It wasn't some good thing. It wasn't some, like, I don't know, what could it have been in 2012? I don't know, the election of some politician or some, I don't know, some new building that went up or, something good, something positive. But no, I can't believe it. And they said it was based on the fact that how much how much people read the newspaper and watched the news, and he attracted a lot of attention with this horrendous act.
Wow.
But to say he was Newsmaker of the Year, I mean, honestly, what are you asking for, people?
Yeah.
What are you're conditioning evil into the society. You're rewarding it, is what you're doing. And basis
Wow. Yeah, that's awful.
techniques, you don't reward evil. That you're just asking for more. And this is what's happening. This is what is happening. Like I say, bestiality now legal. Expressions of Satanism, now we have it in TV. We have it in school systems, coloring books for kids, talking about Satanism in some of the schools now in the U.S. Florida, I think, is the one that's first.
Oh, I saw that. I did see that. And then I totally saw that. And then they actually came out. There was one that they were going to put up a statue in the middle of town, too. Because they said, well, you guys have your other religious statues.
That's Detroit. It's up.
Statue.
In Detroit, it's up.
Oh, my God. Well,
yeah, the B guy, Baphomet or something. I don't know.
Oh,
it's not my thing. It's not my thing, thank God.
Yeah.
To me, God is light. He's not Lucifer.
Lucifer is also the light.
Yeah.
And he's also the morning star. And isn't Jesus also the morning star? So isn't that kind of weird? Just saying. They both have the same name.
God, God is love. He's not hate. He's not conflict. He's that. Lucifer is the guy who said, well, love's not good enough for me. I want to get more attention. So I want to create hate. I want to create anger. I want to create a higher, sort of like a vampire type love, a vampire type energy system where I suck energy out of people. This is what Lucifer, and it makes you feel more powerful. This is really the basis of evil, and that's what Lucifer. Lucifer figured out, and then it led to the big battle in heaven, right? And we're basically dealing with the family feud.
on a grand scale.
I think that the Christians have that part of reality right. I think in this dimension, at least, it's quite polarized, and there's a lot of things going on here and above here in the realm of spirit that are involved in a battle. And the thing about the sovereignty issue is that I think this is the solution, because we can have peace by being around those that we can be with and agree with, and so the evil will not creep into a love-based system or an agreement-based common value system. It creeps into conflicted systems where nobody feels like they're getting what they want, and then the violence starts.
Mm-hmm. Well, God is in the Bible. I mean, whether somebody's religious or not, it says God is sovereign. So let's just take that out of religion for the people here who are not religious. Let's say God is sovereign, and that means that the universal energy flow, the source energy, whatever, the creator, whatever, is sovereign. So what does sovereignty mean? It means, okay, I have a knowledge, let's go back to the Bible, knowledge of right and wrong, the tree of knowledge. I have knowledge of right and wrong. I'm a judge. I can sit there and know if it's right or wrong, right? And so the men and women, right, the people are made in God's image. It says over and over, God is sovereign. So yes. Aren't we the people sovereign just by proxy right there, obviously? And that means that we just have the power to create our own world. So in Hermetics, if the creation, the whole huge creator of everything is creating on its level of something grander than we can create, and it creates the laws of the universe, everything is law, law of gravity, everything's a law, right? Then that means that what we can do is we can create on our realm, and we have to obey the higher realms, but we still create on our realm. So our job here is to transmute everything and be the best creators that we can, and our sovereignty is a huge part of that. It's because we're lawmakers, and we will create our life, we'll create our world, we'll create our destiny, and that's what the law is.
The decree of the law, the decree of the sovereign makes law.
In my life.
And nobody else can stand in between between my creator and me.
Mm-hmm. Or what I'm creating.
Or what I'm creating.
And then that goes back to the laws of the universe, like law of attraction and all that stuff. You think about something really hard and you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. We always say, you better think really positive thoughts. So you better have the polarity there. Everything's a spectrum. You got this spectrum to that spectrum.
It's hot and cold.
Light, white, and
Well,
black.
I've already got a creator being with me who creates planets, and I've got Yeshua showed up about 2 months ago. Now I'm attracting Krishna.
You were saying that.
Krishna, because Krishna is the only god that I know of who could take down UFOs and satellite systems. So
Well, he had those flying stuff, right?
we need some major firepower on the side of the light right now.
Yeah.
It seems that the military-industrial complex has got all the guns. Well, we need some good stuff on our side. So, yeah, I'm hoping to bring Krishna down here again.
Well, you do realize thought is more powerful than their guns, right? I mean, your thoughts are so powerful.
Well, they reach to the universe.
They can't get to your guns if you're thinking on the polarity of positive. They can't get to you.
So
your energy. Yeah.
So you have a thought, and then your heart actually makes a standing wave of reality after you have a feeling. And that is so powerful. Your heart is so powerful that you can't even measure it anymore. They don't have the devices to measure it out past outer space. That's how powerful your heart is. And it guides your heart is the meat, the brains of your central body. And there's actually found brain tissue in your stomach and your heart that make you think. So your body and your heart are thinking, and it's very, very powerful vibrations.
So that's the Holy Trinity: your brain, your solar plexus, your intuition, and your heart. So you have the thought first. So we do it all wrong. We're supposed to go from our intuition and then go to the brain and then to the heart. But no, we'd be stupid all the time. We'd come from our brain. Oh, I think a thought. Then I will create it, and then it comes down, and I start feeling the feeling in my solar plexus, and then it goes up to my heart, creates the standing wave, which then creates reality. So we got to be way more careful and come from our intuition, and then after the intuition comes, hey, I'm going to think about this from what I'm really feeling, and then I will come to my heart, and then I create the reality the way I want it.
Yeah, let your heart guide you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heart is the great filter. It filters out the bad things, the bad thoughts, the things that won't work, the things that are not universally applied. Because the heart is the only organ in the body that never needs to rest. So it obviously has some source of power that no other organ or part of our body has. Everything else in us needs to rest.
Yeah.
But the heart is a remarkable piece.
Yeah, it has way more electromagnetism in it than any other part of our body. So everybody thinks the brain is so powerful. Well, if you put up, some electrodes to it, it's not even as powerful or as it doesn't have enough electricity going through it as your heart does. Your heart's, it's really powerful.
Very powerful.
And it really does create your heart really does. There's been studies, and when your heart thinks something, it literally creates your world. There's like so many studies that show that. It's really trippy. It's so cool. We're super powerful creators.
There's the heart. Have you heard of the Heart Math Institute?
Yes. They did a lot of studies on that.
Oh yeah.
They proved that. I love those guys. Those guys are really great.
Yeah, I mean, they have certain devices, I think, that are designed to. I haven't looked too closely at it. Like, I've got a very strong heart chakra, so I've had that since I was born. So
nice.
It's my most powerful energy. The 3 is a big number in the universe, so I love the Vedic system, and this explains why we're all different. It's because we have 3 main energy systems in all our bodies. One's Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vata is the pure creative energy. Kapha is the love energy. And Pitta is the sort of the mental, join the dots, logical faculty of human energy systems.
Another Holy Trinity. Very cool.
Yeah. And so these 3 energies are different in everybody. Now, of course, each one of these energies breaks into subcategories. I'm just doing a very simple. I mean, I'm telling you, these Vedas guys were in a complexity beyond complexity. I mean, these guys saw things that we don't, very few see, because they used meditation to figure things out. And when you meditate from a higher dimension, you see clearly. In the dimension, you don't see clearly at all, because we have time, we have space, we have language. It confuses our objectivity. But when you can get to the next layer and look down, then everything is clear, see? And this is what they did through meditation. So I think they've developed one of the most accurate systems of knowledge, and it's proven through millennia to be very, very effective and powerful. So I really think that they have that figured out, and it explains also why everybody's different, because every second of time on this planet is a different energy system, because the planets are aligned differently in the galaxy and in our solar system, mainly in the solar system. So every person's birth is a different energy signature, and it explains why we're all different.
Right.
That's
Isn't that
cool.
cool?
You know what else? We saw a new bug today. So a friend, she said, I found a new bug, which we've kind of found down here quite a few times. And she brought out a picture of a bug on her phone today. And we've never seen that bug before. It was a completely new, far out bug. It was so weird.
Hope it's not GMO bug.
It might have been. It was
been,
really
you know?
trippy. Oh man, it was really cool.
Yeah, because there's a weird thing going on here where there's no bugs this year.
Oh, you're saying that? Yeah,
That is weird.
that is
they're
weird.
bringing in the new bugs for next year. They're
Well, I know that they
existing
created.
ones this year, so they don't intermingle with the GMO bugs, and then next year they're going to bring in all the new bugs.
Wow.
Oh God. So have they told you that you're having the GMO bugs there?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've admitted to making GMO mosquitoes that evidently creates a Zika virus, right?
I was
Well,
just
in
going to say
Florida,
that.
they let them go, and then they let them go in Brazil and all that. I just didn't know if they let them go in Canada too.
Uh,
Everywhere.
no, you know, but the whole thing, I think, is a cover for one big problem that nobody wants to admit, is that we are basically getting fried by radiation.
Yeah.
Radiation will mutate everything and anything, including metal, including glass, as we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
No, I think Lauren Murray is very strong on this stuff. I really like listening to her videos. Lauren Murray, LEURENMORET. Look her up. She's on the money on issues like radiation. It's really a problem. It's out of sight, out of mind. You can't see it. But it's everywhere, and it's going up every day.
Yeah. Yeah. We were saying that when we watched a bunch of videos where people were going up in the planes, and especially when they were going from, the West Coast through to Alaska, they were just getting hit by radiation. But it's in all the planes everywhere. So when you get up in the atmosphere, it's completely you're getting radiated, and it's not. You can go up to like 100 millisieverts or whatever it's called. And it was going like 280 or something, which is completely dangerous. You can't even, 100 is completely dangerous. And then it was going up to the ridiculous levels.
It used to be 20 CPF.
Oh, now they're like, you can have
The background, like this, 30 years ago.
Find 100.
Well, no, I'd say before the nuclear age, which back in the 50s, they really started going nuts with the testing. They had 1,200 above ground tests in Nevada alone.
Wow.
Holy jeez.
God.
2,000.
That?
But all that radiation came up to Canada based upon the current, so it all went out east. Yeah, and now we have depleted uranium. We got everyone trying to sell nuclear power everywhere. So no, to me, this is the primary planet killer. I've also come to the conclusion that geoengineering is an attempt to create a sponge of metal particles to try to suck up the radiation. Right?
You're saying you think geoengineering is for a good purpose, that they're trying to like interesting.
Good. But what's
a spin on it?
I like that. Very people better.
Logical entities, but they care about their aircraft.
Energy.
So they're trying to preserve the aircraft. I saw the weirdest looking video of this ship. It looked like it was a pine cone, and I thought, after hearing about this effect of radiation on metal and glass and how it crystallizes it and breaks it down, I thought, wow, that's why they made this weird looking aircraft, because it looks like it was made out of ceramic or something really thick, so it wouldn't break down in this really highly radioactive environment. That's what I think, because it was a video of this weird looking. It was obviously an arc kind of craft because it had a jet engine, but it looked like a pine cone, really thick body, and it was behind it were 4 other jets that were sort of like escorting it or watching it fly like a test flight.
Oh, where was that?
Somebody caught it on a video. I think it was in Turkey.
Turkey. Oh wow.
Yeah, and I posted it, and another guy said, "Oh yeah, I've seen these quite often where I live." He was an American.
Like a flying pine cone?
And another girl who lives in the Yukon said, "I see UFOs almost every day." So there's
We've
a lot
seen
of
UFOs quite a few times.
in the northern parts, in Yukon, places like that, where there's less people, there's hidden bases everywhere and whatnot. So
Yep. One time, Neko and I were looking at the stars, and oh, well, look at that bright star. And we said, I don't know why we were looking at the star for so long, but we did. We looked at it for a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden it started moving. We're like, that is the most, what is that? It was perfectly still, and then all of a sudden it started moving, and then all of a sudden it flew off, like, and completely disappeared. It was the most bizarre thing. Both of us, did you see that? Did you see that? So obviously we both saw it. It was weird. We've seen a few things that were.
yeah, I like to look at stars at night because I sleep in my tent and I have a nice mesh top so I can see out the top. But all I ever see is damn geoengineering.
Oh yeah.
Spring,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Crisscross.
3 in the morning, they're flying over top, and you know it ain't a conventional jet when it's spraying at 2 in the morning. All the jets, even Toronto, there's no jets that land past midnight.
Well, do you get the exact grid, like squares up in the sky?
Nah, it's not quite that. It's mainly going in one direction. Mainly going kind of like east-west.
Oh yeah, we used to see a bunch of squares up in the sky, and then it's like,
Sometimes you get them crossed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you get every pattern you can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're going to have a little break here. Well, we'll start talking more about sovereignty after the next
No
hour.
worries.
Yeah.
Sweet.
We're sort of all over the map, but it's sort of just like back and forth. Oh, got that mute off a little late there. Sorry, folks. Welcome back to I'm Nature. Brian Porter, your host here with Neko and Zeeka.
Hi there.
Hey, guys. Yeah, this is the part of my show where I usually have to put a plug in for the station, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Also heard on TuneIn Radio and other platforms. There's a browser right on the website, Studio A and B. We are the most independent source of real, authentic, I think usually pretty accurate news on a wide range of issues, from spiritual issues to UFO to political systems to other ways of interpreting the mainstream news. You name it. This is the portal for a more accurate view of the universe and of this planet. And we basically rely on the generosity of our listener. And so I invite everyone to get the podcast of 90 shows. And the way to do that is you contribute. It's about, I think it's $4.95 a month. You go to our site and look under donate, and you will find all the links to become a member of the station and get your podcast. Your access, basically, it's an access to the archives. All the shows are listed, and you just download either the one you want, and then I usually just play them in my phone in my car at my leisure. And then there's also seats for sale, and there's often specials. So check out the Donate Now section of our webpage and do your part to keep us on the air. Okay, so getting back to our show, and we had I thought was a fascinating, wide-ranging discussion in the first half of the show, but the next hour, we want to stick to sovereign issues. And what I want to do is, we didn't even talk about where we can find you guys. So do you want to put out your website name for everyone?
Yeah, it's soulreign.com. That's SOULREIGN.com. And you can get a hold of us there. Drop us a line if you have any questions or just want to give a shout out.
All right. And that's the best way, soulreign.com. Yeah, you said you got some hits after last show, so that's good.
Oh, yeah. Nobody contacted us because they might be kind of intimidated, but you can contact us. One thing that we are going to talk about is actual sovereignty certificates on this part. And if somebody needs a sovereignty certificate.
Okay, but before I forget this, I want to put this question in. I was just chatting just before the show about you guys. And actually it was about the Permacube, but he was also interested in maybe relocating to Costa Rica. Are you guys creating a sovereign community through this reign? That's big. This is why people listen to my show. I say half my listeners are in eco-villages or alternative ways of living that create more freedom in their lives.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's plenty of water here. Everywhere you go, there's water. Well, there's a few places that are dry because Costa Rica's got a lot of different climates, kind of like California, where you've got desert and you've got some other things, but there's pure water here. I mean, it's really pure. The electricity, if you were on the grid, is like, what is it, 80% off of water power. It's completely hydro, eco power. There's just, the food is just so abundant. It's great. There's just so many perks.
Everything grows here. So we're creating sovereign community, and we're holding it into trust, and it's got a very much abundance of different things, agriculture, and like she said, water and whatnot. But the thing is it's going to be sovereign. That is very, very huge, because people will have their rights met.
Everybody's land's being held in a sub-trust. So you've got the controlling trust, and then you've got the sub-trust. So everybody's actual property is still their own property, but they don't actually own it, because the word owner, guys, get this, is etymologically speaking, means owe. I owe. Well, who do you owe to? Whoever owns your allodial title. So somebody's got your allodial title if you've got a deed, and you don't have the title, because a deed is a color of a title, which means it's not real. So we're having our lands held in allodium, and only a sovereign can own the land in allodium. And most people go about it completely wrong, and they'll say, oh, dear government, and they'll write the government, which can't grant you sovereignty. They're not sovereign. They cannot grant you sovereignty. They can grant you a privilege. That's all they can do. And you need the right to use the privilege, which you don't have, which means most people are enemies of the state. So you need to be able to have a sovereignty certificate, and you need to be able to hold your land in allodium with that in a trust. Otherwise, your land is not yours, and it can be taken. And so that's our whole shtick. That's what we're about.
So you want to have it your own allodial trust. You're gonna put your land in it, so it's basically untouchable.
Well, let me clarify that. What it is a common law pure trust, and this is very ancient, from the 1200s, and it's been passed down pretty much from the time of King Henry and all that. And this is how people held land in allodium. This is what countries and governments are made from. It's made from a common law pure trust. That's why all countries are actually republics, but they won't tell you that. But they're all republics held in pure trusts. That's why they can create their own law. Somebody decreed the law in the trust, and everybody joins it in their society within that trust. And somebody's holding that allodial titles in a trust. So it's not an allodial trust. It's in a common law pure trust with an allodial title somewhere held in there. But usually you daisy chain your trust somewhere to another trust and hold the allodial title somewhere else. This is what the elite know. This is what governments know. You need trust if you want to be sovereign, if you want to have rights.
Okay. And what was I going to say? So it's, the allodial is the trust. It's not an actual land trust.
No,
Right.
Check it out. The trust can hold land, and the land could have an allodial title. So normally you would take a trust, like normal people, they would get, like, say, a statutory trust. They might register it somewhere, and they're going to hold all their assets in the trust, and then they're going to give it to their grandkids. You know what I mean? That's how normal trust law works, right?
They have
And you got a beneficiary.
Let me give you a concrete example again.
Yeah.
I'm living right now in a home that is it's going to be the estate of the family, because my mom just recently moved, and when she passes away, we'll sell the home. It'll become part of the estate. Now, are you saying I should create a trust, put it in this trust, and then my understanding is that things in this trust, you don't have to pay tax on them, right? Is that one of the advantages?
Well, yeah, there's, check it out. An owner owes, but you would become a managing director. And so a managing director, there's a trustee, a managing director, and an exchanger grantor. The exchanger grantor puts in the assets. Then the managing director manages the assets. The trustee, none of them own the assets anymore. They're just controlling it. So you want to control. So have you heard Warren Buffett and all these rich people, they say, control everything, own nothing?
Yeah.
That's what they mean. That's what they mean. You always like speaking, what are they talking about?
I used that quote this week on one of my posts that said 62 families own the planet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's how they own the planet.
Because they control it.
They control it. Yeah.
The beneficiaries, which are us, the people,
Supposed to be.
are supposed to be,
Yeah.
get the benefits. But there's crooked people out there and end up taking over and
Mm-hmm.
change things around and stuff. But a normal common law pure trust will have the same type of effects, but it's very much more powerful.
And I will say that to say, oh, you don't owe taxes is actually a misnomer. It depends on whether you owe taxes or not, depending on what contracts you already have. So sovereignty is about trying to get rid of all of your contracts, or not having.
Well, I'd also have to become sovereign not to pay tax, because the way it works now, if you're like a slave, you're supposed to put this in a bar trust or some. I'm not sure what the term is, but some attorney will put it in a trust, which really means that the government owns the money. When you take it out of the trust, you got to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
And so
like
you end up losing a fairly high percentage of your inheritance through this ridiculous system. Okay. And what does the government do other than steal your money? They don't do anything for the money. It's like my parents'
property is opposite
vestige of inheritance. So what I'm thinking is that putting in one of these trusts that are untouchable, and then I become sovereign, and then when I take the money out, I don't have to pay tax on it. Does that make sense? Is that a legitimate strategy that could work for a Canadian citizen or a Canadian who's sovereign?
Yeah, well, you don't want to be a citizen, that's for sure.
The citizen would owe tax.
The citizen would owe taxes. Yeah. So initially, there's certain procedures that you do take to pass your assets down to your next generation without big brother government being involved in taking a percentage of that.
Okay. It's illegal to evade taxes, but it is legal to avoid taxes. So that's all I can say. If somebody wants to have a private conversation, get a hold of us.
I should say there's certain things that are best to be discussed in private. So if
some of that stuff's best talked about, but there's ways to avoid taxes, or at least or mitigate your taxes loss. And this is what elite people know, and this is what they do.
And everybody does it.
Yeah, they all do it.
I'm not doing something, or I'm not looking to do something that a million people haven't done, especially people with lots of money.
Yeah,
exactly.
Some people inherit $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
If they had to pay taxes on that, I mean, they could lose, $500 million.
Yeah.
So they don't want to do that.
Nope.
So they have these things in place that you and I most don't know about, because you guys have looked outside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
You've discovered some pretty neat, mechanisms.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call it a loophole. Like I said, governments are run on the same kind of trusts, so it's not a loophole. It's not it's not even so much hidden. That's the funny part.
Right.
There is a really good book if somebody does want to learn about common law pure trusts called Passing the Buck.
Passing Bucks.
Passing Bucks. That's correct. And her name is Gwen Wyckoff. And she's we've got a video on soulrain.com, and we picked out one of her better videos. And she talks about going up, the Department of Justice sued her, and they said, you better take it down this book. And she had put the whole book into another trust with trustees, and it went on and on. And basically, at the end, the Department of Justice completely lost their case, and they couldn't take one word out of her book because the whole thing's true.
They lost their case, and all 20 lawyers were scratching their heads. How'd they do that?
And now we get to know about common law pure trusts. So, it's out there. It's not very widely known, but it's out there.
There's little bits and pieces of these trusts that she put together. We, fortunately, have the whole kit and caboodle ready to go and have been studying it. And it's very, very detailed, and it's very precise, and there's no going outside of the boundaries. And you have to create this trust with a lot of faith and just understand the law and know that the law is there to back you, and faith is key. When you have the faith, it'll protect you.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits. So we always say, stop fighting the system, stop fighting the government. There's things in place where you can be totally fine and live just fine. You just need to make your own contract. We live in a contract law society. We lose our sovereignty by granting consent, by getting into contracts on accident usually, and then you need to take it back by having your own contract. And what these trusts are is little basic mini republics within a republic. The government is completely fine with this. That's been going on since 1200. You have the right to have a trust and have your own laws within the trust. You know, I always put it like this. And then when I give my kids this land, they can't cut those 80 trees in the backyard. I made the law, and the trust upholds the law. The trustee is the government, pretty much. They uphold the law of this trust. And they make sure the beneficiaries, which should have been us, the people in the real government, are taken care of. They're the constitutors. So in a constitution, they're really your constitutor. They're supposed to pay your bills, and that's what a trustee is. And so yeah, there are many republics within a republic, and it's signed by two people, and that's where all these people are going in. I'm a sovereign, and we did it too. Don't sorry guys, we did it too. But you declare yourself a sovereign, and you say, I decree I'm a sovereign. I declare it. You'll maybe even write the government some nonsense and send it off and everything. Waste a bunch of mail and everything and send it to them, and you're a dictator. If you do that, you're a dictator. And it's not a republic, and you have no real way to enforce it. It's not the same.
I mean, people can go out and be dictators all they want, but I mean, really, if you really want to uphold your own laws and be a private people and really protect yourself within a contract,
Yeah.
then you create a mini republic with another person or people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't make it
Don't
with
be
a
a
person.
person.
A person's a corporation.
Yeah. But so when you have two people, you're now not a dictator. You are a mini republic upholding your own laws within this contract law society. And there's very many contracts out there. Your driver's license is a contract. Your birth certificate is a contract.
Marriage
Marriage license is a contract.
Passport,
your
everything.
passport's a contract. Everything is a contract. The ticket that the police officer gives you is a contract.
Your gun license, everything
Your
is a
gun
contract.
license is a contract. And so you just have to understand contract law within this society and know what you're getting yourself into to create or contract the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you don't want to contract with the government.
Yeah. That's how you stay sovereign.
That's how you stay sovereign.
Well, we just keep saying sovereignty is privacy. So you got private law and public law. Do not go into the public and do not create a public controversy. You will lose your sovereignty every time, and then you're going to be in a big battle. Stop it.
Yep.
Just that's how people get in trouble.
Well, you see, most people do not understand the distinction between private and public, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is what you're not told.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was hidden from us on purpose, I'm sure. And then there's like little road signs, come this way into the public. Everything guides you back into the public. Yeah. You got to stand your ground and start understanding the difference.
Yeah,
Big
and
time.
like Zeeka said earlier, consent. When you are giving consent to these contracts, even unknowing and knowingly, you are giving into the public.
Mm-hmm. So people go and they do these secured party creditor things and all these different things, and they're going and registering to the government and saying, guess what? Now I'm sovereign, or now I'm the creditor. And while that's true in a contract law society, you just made yourself the creditor. The government has no authority to grant you sovereignty. They can only grant you a privilege. So the only entity on the planet that can actually grant sovereignty, the same kind of sovereignty that, say, Queen Elizabeth has or someone, is a exchanger grantor of a common law pure trust, and they can give you a sovereignty certificate that is signed by two people, and that is you and then the exchanger grantor. And that's the only way you can actually be recognized as a sovereign and hold the land in the loydium. It's very important.
Otherwise, they don't know what you are. You could be a beastly thing, which means a human being. in etymology, in law, and a human being is like a beast or an animal. Like they don't know what you are. So to have this contract saying that you are a sovereign people, you are now recognized, and with another people recognizing you as well, then that becomes a mini republic, and it goes back to being upholding your own mini laws.
Are people who live in these religious communities, are they considered sovereign? Is that why they don't have to pay taxes?
They are actually considered quasi-sovereign, yes.
Yeah, quasi-sovereign.
Because you can't have two masters, so they've got their own laws, and nobody else can come between them and what their master is, correct? So that's why they're able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They are recognized that way.
And that goes back to getting a sovereignty certificate, and we're able to issue sovereignty certificates. If you go to our website, soulreign.com, and contact us and just shoot us a line, and you have any questions, or if you would like your sovereignty certificate.
We think it's the right of the people to have their sovereignty certificates. And the other thing is, we will say, because it's private, we always go back to, okay, the Queen of England has one of these, but she's not going to show it to you. So you can have one of these, but you're also really not going to show people. You would only use your trust in a very dire situation where you would pull it out if somebody came to you. You never go to somebody with it. That's not how sovereigns work. You wait for them to come to you and say, who are you?
Okay. Let's get really practical here. So I get a sovereignty certificate from you guys or through your connections. Then I want to travel outside of my city, a sovereign city, which you are also on the verge of creating. Am I going to be limited in my ability to travel because I'm sovereign and not now part of the public?
Well, that's another thing. People always get this misnomer that you can't have a driver's license or you can't have these passports and these contracts. Your straw man, everybody probably knows the straw man on the call, your fictitious entity that's
the all caps guy.
Yeah, the all caps guy. He can go use the driver's license. You can just pull it out. You're the authorized representative. Here's my driver's license. Just go on and make it so much easier on yourself. I know a lot of people who do not have licenses, and I know a lot of people who do. It doesn't affect your actual sovereignty. You can play two roles, and that's what we say. Use the benefits. If it benefits you to feel like that would help you travel, then why would you limit yourself? If this government is here, use the benefits. God, they don't have very many benefits at all. Use the ones that they do have, because otherwise you got these ignorant people who will beat you down. You don't have a driver's license, maybe arrest you. You know what I mean? Then you got to sort it out. You know, beat you down.
But if you're sovereign, you don't pay taxes. Do they not have the right as a public entity to say, oh, you don't want to pay taxes, we're not going to issue you licenses like passports?
You're going to have a hard time. Yeah, you're going to have a hard time convincing someone if you haven't unraveled your contracts with a straw man. So you have a lot to unravel if you already took the contracts. Some people never took the contracts. They've never paid taxes in their life. IRS will never show up at their door.
No, they don't have that contract.
They never took the contract. If you had the contract, you better figure out how to get out of it before you go and tell them, I'm sovereign because I got a certificate.
Yeah.
And that sounds probably very confusing. Well, what'd you say? You just told me I could have a sovereignty certificate. Yes, but you need to stay private with the sovereignty to stay sovereign. And you have a public contract. So you have a dual persona here. Do you see what I mean? And you've got something to untangle.
Mm-hmm. So it starts with, so what comes first then? Like, say you're like me, I've just recently discovered this thing called sovereignty. I thought, you know, I lived in the delusion that I was free for many years.
In a sense, you are.
Sucker.
They told me I was free, and I believed them. So now I want to become as unencumbered as possible. So you're saying, are you saying you should start with the sovereignty certificate, or should you first deal with the tax man? What would be the proper order of disengagement?
Okay, if it was me and I had contracts, I would have a sovereignty certificate first, and then I would dishonor everything. So if anything comes to me and I don't agree with it, I'm going to dishonor it with UCC 3-50. 3-503. 3-503.
3-503 is a dishonor.
Yeah.
Explain that again. UCC. I'm telling you, I'm really starting to understand this now.
It's Uniform Commercial Code worldwide.
Myself.
International.
Mm-hmm.
UCC 3-503 explains that is a notice of dishonor, and you have the ability to control any contract that comes to you, or anybody who presents, and it's called a presentment. If they take a presentment to you and you don't like it or don't understand it, you have every right to dishonor that and not take that contract.
You better do it in time. If they say you got 10 days, you better dishonor that thing within 10 days, because commercial law is so freaking harsh. They'll just put a lien on you because you didn't answer in 10 days because you actually acquiesced. It's called default by acquiescence. I tacitly agree that I will pay this, whatever you said. And you should be dishonoring it in the meantime if you want to keep your sovereignty. You want to dishonor anything public if you don't like it. And if you do, it's only if you don't like it.
Here's a easy way of looking at it. There's a rule in sovereignty, and that's always be in honor. And that is know your contract. So being in honor is to be in reply and understand when presentments come to you, and know what you should say and know how you sign your name and everything like that to dishonor it. But be in honor, stand up, don't ignore it, because it's there for a reason, and you have every right to say no.
Mm-hmm.
So stay in honor at all times.
Yes.
Okay. So you're saying dishonor. If I get my tax documents, I just write them a letter and put across them, I dishonor this?
Well, you could. There's two different ways. You could write, I dishonor this. You could also write them, I'm not in receipt of anything that says I am a taxpayer of this thing. You could conditionally accept. So the easiest way is to conditionally accept and ask them to prove certain things that give them the jurisdiction and prove that you are this taxpayer. Because like in the United States, a taxpayer is only a federal employee. Well, I'm not a federal employee. I'm not in receipt of anything that says I'm a federal employee. How did you ever think I was a federal employee? Ask them these questions.
Yeah.
You show them a couple laws, ask them a couple questions, and then get an answer. If they won't answer you, then you dishonor and say, who are you to write me these things without even giving me proof of this jurisdiction? That's when you come in with your dishonors, and you have the right because they defaulted and acquiesced. You want to keep it going. Whoever leaves the battlefield first in commercial law loses. You want to send the last letter in time.
Okay, next very practical question, because I have to challenge you on the practicality. This is the main criticism I get of being sovereign. It's not practical in a realm that's so public with so many benefits. Okay, so next question. I don't have a driver's license because I've chosen to be sovereign, and it's my understanding that you only need a driver's license if you're doing commercial work.
Yeah.
So, you don't need a driver's license to drive a personal vehicle. It's only if you're driving like a truck and you're delivering stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know what the word driver means? If you look up in a law dictionary, the word driver, as it used to be back in the day, like in the 1800s. So say I have a secretary, that's my driver. My employee is my driver. What do? They traffic things like traffic drugs, traffic children. They make money. So they're driving with it's all commerce. They tricked us with the words, and now they think you're a driver. You're not a driver.
Yeah. So, but in order to get a passport, I need to have a license. Licenses are very primary in terms of ID in Canada. Like basically, for a lot of things like passports, you need to have a driver's license. How would I get around that impediment?
Oh, like secondary state.
Yeah. Okay. There is a way in when you go to a passport agency, it's kind of a headache, but there is a way of getting through that loophole. I think within their own paperwork, you have to kind of fight it at that point.
In the States, you become a non-citizen national.
Yeah.
And you go to John Kerry, you say, give me my non-citizen national passport, and they stamp it on like page 23 or 24 with a non-citizen national stamp, which means you're not a citizen. And then you just use the benefit of the passport. It's the easiest. I mean, try traveling without a passport.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing.
You can also rescind your social security number and do all that stuff. But there's other benefits that you want to use that some people would want to use, some sovereigns.
Well, now that I'm getting older, I should be getting a pension in a few years. So would I relinquish that privilege by doing these things?
No.
That's a benefit.
No, your straw man has the right to that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's coming right out of your personal, like a private trust.
Yep. And like I said, if you have the sovereignty certificate, then you have the right to use the privileges. Yep. Right now, people are using the privileges, which are contracts, and you didn't sign the contract. Unless you're sovereign, you don't have the right to use the privilege. And that takes a long time to sink in. Took us almost a year hearing it over and over and over and over.
Yep.
And you're still like, what are you talking about? Finally get it. You don't have the right to use the privilege right now. You need a sovereignty certificate to be able to do that. But there's no harm done if you want to use the benefits. I mean, I don't take all the benefits. I'm not getting some of those contracts, but
some people do.
Some people do, and it's not a problem either.
Some people like the protection of those contracts through the government.
It's certainly easier.
They feel protected or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people might say, "Oh, I don't need a pension anyway." So,
no, you would never give up the pension. That wouldn't even come into play. That's not even an option.
Right.
They owe you pension, or they owe you straw man, and or you whatever. You're the authorized representative. Take the pension. That's what we're saying. We say we work with and not against. Stop fighting the government.
Up here it varies a fair bit with how much you've contributed. So, I've actually I've had a fairly distant relationship with the tax people. I paid a lot of taxes in my many years of working through all legitimate means, but I wouldn't be getting that much. Just a lot of people, but I still wouldn't mind getting some pension money. Yeah,
of course. That's coming to you. Yeah, yeah. We don't say shun the whole thing. We say ostracize what does not benefit you. And if it benefits you, take it. And stop fighting the government, because they were made by people to be for our benefit.
Constitutors.
And they're supposed to be there to help us. And if you fight them, they're going to fight you back. So stop it and just go, what do you got for me? I'll take it. Sounds freaking great. You know? And if anything makes my life easier, that sounds great too. You know, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let them get one up on you if it doesn't benefit you. That's where we're at as well.
Yep.
We're not completely in bed with them because they don't have the right to be in bed with you. We don't have a third-party contract with them.
Yeah, I don't want that contract.
I don't either. I try not to.
we try to say, to really stay sovereign and know your contracts, always be in honor, and never take an attorney. If you really
corpus juris
secundum. Corpus juris secundum. That's a really important
corpus juris secundum. There's a good
important book. The first thing that an attorney is there for is not the client, and that's what it says.
I'll read it directly from the book.
Here we go.
Attorney and client. His first duty is to the courts and the public, not to the client. What am I paying you for? Did you just take my money and tell me that you don't have a duty to me? And then let me get this. This is so funny. This is so funny, you guys. Anybody who thinks a lawyer is going to get him out of any trouble, you got something to learn. Check this out.
Attorney and client.
It says, clients are also called wards of the court in regard to so you're a ward of the court. They actually go so far as to be like you're an infant of unsound mind, an imbecile, an idiot. It's ridiculous. They're totally outrageous. So if you take a lawyer, it literally admits the jurisdiction of the court. And the only way to get out of something is to say you don't have jurisdiction.
Yep.
And then you take a lawyer and you admit a jurisdiction. You just shot yourself in the foot.
So that goes back to being, what was I just going to say?
Private.
Yeah, it goes back to being private. And when you don't take the lawyer, you come in, that's what it was. You come in your proper person. Some people call it propria persona, but they even recently kind of changed that around a little bit to make it really funny. So
just present yourself.
You want to present yourself, exactly, instead of represent yourself, because you're already there. You are presenting yourself.
You don't want to represent yourself.
As a man, and if you take a lawyer, then they call you a ward of the court of unsound mind. And it's not your fault that you didn't go and study all their stupid laws and go in and understand that they changed all of the words around on you and all that stuff. I mean, really, people are just unaware of that, and it's up to you to have the responsibility to go and check it out yourself. The first thing I think we did was go and we went to a law book and we looked up the word citizen. So go into a law book, go look up the word citizen.
Just look up all kinds of words.
Look up all kinds of words, and you'll start to figure it out that they changed all of the words around. And once you figure out they changed all the words around, you'll start to understand the law and why you shouldn't take an attorney. and even the word attorney. So they turn you over.
Mm-hmm.
It's really silly.
To their first duty.
To their first duty, which is the court, which goes back to commerce, and then it gets kind of deeper from there into the commercial law and everything.
Yeah. And the whole world is run by commercial law right now.
A turn sounds like you're getting buried by the court system.
Doesn't it? Well, I think you could be onto something. Absolutely. Yeah. They got a whole little scam going,
And some people just don't know, they don't teach this to you in school unless you go be some attorney. And even then, some of the attorneys are fed the education, and they're not fed this, real common law.
Has anybody written the book Lucifer and the Court System?
Oh, you know what? Okay.
I mean,
there is actually
this whole charade of deceit strikes me as the kind of thing that a demonic entity would create, because everything that's stated is a lie. The words mean the opposite often of what you're led to believe that they mean. So it's extremely, extremely corrosive, deceitful, and man, is it persuasive.
So there's actually a term that someone was just teaching us that over in England or over in Europe, and they said that and in Europe attorneys are called solicitors. So the solicitors, this is kind of a while ago, they had a term called deviling. The solicitors would do deviling. We'll have to go look more deep into that, but.
And we always call it spelling. They're spelling on you with a magistrate, magic,
with his black robe,
with his gavel, with his wand.
His wand gavel.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you the what ties into. I didn't realize you were going to go there, but I'll bring it up because I've talked a bit about this 15-hour live video new activist network that I'm setting up. And the platform that I want to do it on is a sovereign guy over in Ireland. And he had this major row with this guy who I guess he's one of these attorneys who, and I was reading about this dispute they're having, and I had no idea that there's some connection between magic and law.
Oh yeah, you didn't put that together?
Magistrate.
Yeah.
Magi. Magic.
Oh yeah. And then you got to put one hand on the Bible and one hand up in the air. You got to do all this weird stuff. It's like, what the heck's going on? What are you talking about? Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing
this? We got some kind of ritual.
Yeah, some sort of a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody stands up.
Well, yeah, from what I remember, it was, again, I should look at it again because now that I understand all this terminology better, it'll make more sense to me. But it sounded to me like this guy was saying, your best way to defeat the system is become a magician versus becoming sovereign.
Well, you can have a combo, yeah.
Yeah, in a sense, totally. I could see that because you're using spelling just like them to combat their own system so that you have the ability to I guess weave your way out of it.
Magic is the ability to create in this world, to use the elements and create there. So yeah.
And whether it's for good or bad, it's better to be good, obviously, and look towards the light. The light side of things.
So it is really a system of slavery, this legal system.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like it's basically instead of saying the enslaving law system, they just call it the legal system, but really it's an enslaving system that few understand. Yeah, how many of the attorneys actually know what they're up to and know that they're
trying to figure that out still? I can't tell.
Yeah, they have secret handshakes and they're in it with the judges and all that stuff for all we know. But
They're reading the same books. They can tell.
I do have to say something about that. Like,
Do they not explain the difference between common law and maritime law and what are the other types of law?
I think they're all kind of lazy, and then they're getting fed a bunch of brainwashing, telling them that the common law isn't around, and so they're learning all the legal, and they're losing the law. So they keep forgetting that there's a difference between law. So law of the land is the law, and then we've got underneath that we've got these fake codes and a statute and a code is a statute and a code. It's not the law. Law is the law. And they're missing the point there because I think that they're getting lazy.
yeah, they're spoon-fed the education these days. And
they also took I got something to say about that. The old books had common law for the attorneys would have common law in the index and in the book. And then what they did is they took the freaking common law out of the index. So these really lazy lawyers, they're looking things up, and there's no more common law in the index. They don't even think it exists. It's still in the book, so you know that there's a scam going on.
Yeah, eventually, I think the later books they've even taken it out of the later books, but for the most part, they definitely took it out of the indexes.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying there's still a chain of knowledge back to these earlier legal texts. So
yes, and I mean the Constitution of America says it right there. Anything over $20, you're going to go to a common law court. It says it right there. Common law.
In most courts, when you go on their websites, on most court, it'll say it's a common law court right there.
Yep.
And a real justice, a real judge, does not use statutes or codes. They go by common law and they go by old case law.
Yeah, when you get up to the Supreme Court, they don't use one statute or code. So
No.
you've gone through two courts. Oh, I went through my court, and then I went to appellate court, and then I get up to Supreme Court. Well, guess what? You just went through two statutory courts. You finally got up to the top one. They say, well, throw the whole thing out. It was lawful.
Yep.
It was illegal, but it was still lawful.
Yep.
Toss it out. Because they're only going by law.
They only go by law. And thank goodness for those justices holding this together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness. Otherwise, they're all administrative. It's just paperwork and commercial revenue, and they've been doing this for thousands of years. And like you said, it's like basic human trafficking. And in the Bible, it says, you shall not sell, buy, or whatever without the mark of the beast. And they kind of misinterpreted it. No human shall be sold, bought, or trade without the mark of the beast, and that goes back to your social and all this other stuff.
So my favorite is CFR 72.11 in America. it says all the revenue
break that
laws.
down for us. Break that down. Where do you find that?
CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, 72.11, and it says that all of the revenue laws, like seatbelt laws, anything like that, and just anything that's going to make money, revenue laws, are commercial crimes, shall be treated as commercial crimes. And it says that addiction to marijuana and all these ones shall be treated as commercial crimes. But get this, I have a Supreme Court ruling here that says that the revenue laws are not enforceable upon non-taxpayers. It says that the non-taxpayers are outside of Congress's scope, and they're not even pretending that the revenue laws attach to a non-taxpayer. So clearly they've got a distinction.
I'm not sure that was clear. Are you saying if you're sovereign, they can't hit you with these laws? They can't fine you?
No, I said if you didn't have that tax contract, which would make you sovereign in a way, yeah. If you're not a taxpayer, and you never had that contract, or say you got rid of your contract, if anybody wants to know about how to get rid of your tax thing, look up Michael of Bernicia on YouTube. Michael of Bernicia. He got rid of his tax contract, and they sent him back $200. Okay?
And they said, if you ever change your status, you better let us know.
You better get in touch with us.
I'm sure that he really didn't want to let them know.
If my status changes, I'll let you know immediately. Thank you very much.
Oh, I promise.
You can help people with that too, right?
That what?
Getting out of their tax obligations. You can help people with that as well.
I'm not, I can't help anybody get out of their tax obligations. If you've got a tax obligation, you got a damn tax obligation. That is not what I'm here for. But if you can avoid taxes, that's legal. If you want to evade taxes, I cannot help you with that.
Oh, okay.
And if you have an obligation, think about what you're saying. then you have an obligation. That would be evading taxes if you were to try to get out of it. You need to get rid of your contracts.
Now, if someone needs help, maybe interpreting their contract, we can give our opinions
Absolutely.
on how to interpret a contract with those guys.
Yes. We can't give you legal advice, but we can give you our opinion.
Because somebody told me along the way that once you create a sovereignty, or you have a sovereignty certificate, you can ask the government for all the taxes you have paid since you started paying taxes. Ask for the money back.
That's what Michael Bernacia did.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
They sent him back his money.
Yeah.
What?
He shows it up on YouTube. And
$200 isn't very much.
Because he didn't.
He never wanted to give him his money in the first place.
Yeah, he never paid him that.
It had been years since he had paid, and they were upset.
They were only upset because he had a new child or something.
What he did, he kept explaining, I conditionally accept.
Yep.
This offer to pay you. Just prove that I owe you. And they couldn't prove it.
Yep. There's some legalese thrown in there too.
Absolutely.
You know, you got to kind of know what you're doing, because they'll try to keep on going after you quite a few times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll never get rid of them with one statement or one dishonor.
Sometimes you can filibuster them, but
can you put the link to this video in the chat box so I can just lay it up?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it here. I'll get it for you.
Find the chat box.
Are you talking about the Gwen Wyckoff video?
No,
or what? The Michael of Bernacia. You're gonna have to go search it.
Yeah.
He's great.
I'm going for that right now.
Is this an American situation or?
Oh, he's what was he?
He was in like
Ireland
or Scotland or British or something.
Oh, good. It might be more relevant to Canada, although I think it's all the same laws, right? Pretty much.
It is all the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same contractual shenanigans that they get you into, that they don't have the right to get you into, and you can't get out of them unless you actually create a situation of agreement, where there is no actual reason to have you in this contract. So you got in the contract. Now you've got to say, are you sure we're supposed to be in the contract? I would gladly keep this contract going if you'll just prove to me that the contract's valid. That's great, and that's where, if you are a taxpayer, that's where you're at. And if you'd stop paying taxes, they're going to come and repossess your house, man. So that's,
Well, you're just saying there's a procedure involved. There's
I'm saying there's absolutely you have no obligation. It's a contract law society, and people are, our whole shtick on the sovereignty is stay private and try not to have those contracts. If you have the contracts and they're a burden upon you, in law, tax.
You have to dishonor them. You have to.
Yeah, you got to get out of them. I would additionally accept, once they don't have a good answer, I would dishonor. And that's completely legal. It's completely legal and lawful. And you have every right to defend your human estate. You've got an estate here, and you've got to defend it. And that's how we defend it. We say, hey, who are you? Sure?
You can help someone, right? Even right in the court. You have the right as is it called being a master? Is that how it works? Or do most sovereign people represent their own interests?
A sovereign always needs to represent their own interest, present their own interest. Absolutely. Are you a man or a mouse? You stand up, you know what I mean, and do something about it, and do it cordially and with honor. There's no fighting in the system. You cannot fight the system. They've got NATO. Stop it. So you have to be very honorable, be very I always say, be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. Come to them and say, are you sure we got a contract? Do we have a contract? That's what we're talking about. Are you sure we got a contract? Is this contract valid? Why is this contract valid? Prove it. If you prove it, I will pay it. And that's where we're at. Okay.
So sovereigns don't generally go, like people who understand at your level, don't generally go with people into courts and argue their case on their behalf.
Oh, no, you can't argue someone's case. You can stand there as counsel for them. And the other thing you can do is come in as a special master, which is very interesting. That's what
I said earlier, yeah.
Okay, that's the math. Okay, I thought you meant like a master of your own world or something. Special master is somebody who comes in for someone else's court. So you are the court. So like in the Magna Carta, it says no man shall lose his court. What does that mean? It means you're the court. So you would have somebody, if you're in jail, let's say, or you can't handle the situation, someone else is going to stand there and they're going to put in court paperwork ahead of time with a seal from the court, which is your court. So say it's like Francisco's court, so Francisco's in jail. Francisco Superior Court is going to come in. You're going to come in with your special master paperwork of your court. You're going to stand there and say, I'm here to observe the proceedings to make sure everything goes according to law. And that means law, not statutes and codes. And then you're going to stand there and you're going to make sure things go right. Because it won't go right if you're not there, probably.
Exactly. So, because
very specialized.
This is something else that people should know, is that if people are in trouble with the law, that you can help them, not just in private, of course, but you can also, you don't call yourself an attorney when you do this, but you can act as a counsel or an advisor and go with them.
Yeah.
Yes, a lawyer is someone who's learned in law, so we can consider ourselves lawyers.
A year of the law.
Yes, and we can give you counsel, and we're pretty good at picking apart people's paperwork and finding the holes and saying, hey, here's what the government did wrong, or here's what the plaintiff is doing wrong in their thing. So usually you try to get somebody to motion to dismiss, and normally a sovereign wouldn't motion because you're asking something, but a lot of times people got into the system too far already before they got in touch with us. And they didn't. They accidentally granted jurisdiction, and that's what we're doing right now. Is we're unraveling some jurisdictional issues with someone, and it's very important to find what is wrong with the paperwork. Don't make an argument and don't go to trial with the argument, because if you argue it, we're going to have to go to a trial to find out who's got the better argument. You want to dishonor everything, try to get it discharged, get it out of there, and get it dismissed. And in a lot of times you can. It's not every time, but I mean, most of the time there's something wrong with their paperwork or the case. Something's wrong with the case, and it's like, well, what are we here for? So if anybody has problems, please get in touch with us, because people.
How often have you gone into a court and acted as a special master?
Oh, we've never done that. Oh, that's so specialized. It's so rare that people in the world go in there as a special master. I would do it if it was necessary. I would normally be training someone to deal with it themselves. Go to your court case. Yeah. I'm going to train you. I'm going to train you on everything they're going to say, and I'm going to train you on everything that's going to come out of your mouth. And you're going to have to practice it 100 times till it rolls off your tongue like butter.
Yep. And we use techniques that actually have worked, that have been used before. Special master is a very unique type of ordeal, but when you go in to do it, we've seen it happen before, and it's really cool, and it's quite intimidating.
It's so cool. If anybody wants to watch it, go watch
Bill Thornton.
Bill Thornton, and he'll tell all about his story going in as a special master.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's so fascinating.
You definitely have to know the lingo. You definitely have to be sharp and very quick, because judges do this all day long. This is their job, and they will razzle dazzle you with all of their words, and it's like I said, it's a very unique type of thing to do, but it can be done. It's been done before, and we are investigators, and we have been studying this for quite some time. So it's something that's special.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to try anything you can if someone's ready to go to jail. You better do something.
Yeah, because sometimes, to be honest, you're saying that sometimes people who are unjustly convicted of things really they did nothing wrong.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, there's no crime most of the time. It's a violation of some code or statute, but there's no actual law broken.
Yep.
It's illegal, but it was never unlawful.
CFR 72.11.
So you broke that code.
What percentage of people who are in jail right now could, if they contacted you guys or somebody with your skill set and knowledge, would be not in jail?
Well, it's hard to get them out of jail once they're in jail because they took the contract. So you really want to try
I'm saying before they actually went to court.
Before the trial, anytime before the trial. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to go in and abate it. Usually you dishonor it and abate it. It's better if they didn't take any pleas or contracts or anything.
Exactly. Like they've been charged, they've got the piece of paper, like you say, the contract, and they call you the day after, say, what should I do? and you'll offer them advice.
Yeah, we'll give them a abatement and all that to go send off.
Exactly.
And then if somebody is in jail, I won't say it's all lost. You just have to unravel it and see what the case